Hey guys, it's Brian with Frostbite Off-Road. We're back in the garage today. Today we're going to be starting our rear axle install. We're swapping out our regular Dana 44 to a Rubicon 44. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the stuff we got for it. Let's go ahead and take a look. So this is the axle we picked up. This is going to be a slightly used Dana 44 M220 out of a Rubicon. This one only had about 10,000 miles on it. We did go ahead and put an Artec truss on it in a previous video. You guys can go ahead and check that out. Me and my buddy Kevin put this on. He did all the welding. It turned out really good. Got it all repainted. One thing about this axle though is it didn't come with axle shafts, brakes, or any of that extra stuff. It just has the locker and the 410 gears in here. So we needed to pick all that up. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. So since we did get the pretty much bare housing there, minus the differential, we did go ahead and pick up some new brakes. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. We did go ahead and get all the Mopar factory Rubicon stuff. So that comes with the HD brake calipers for the rear here. We picked those up brand new. Then we also got the new brackets that hold those calipers. They do have larger brakes on the Rubicon rear 44, so we did need to pick this stuff up. Did pick up a couple extra bolts and whatnot. We did get some extra brake lines here. I guess the brake lines are different between the Sport and the Rubicon, so I picked these up from Grimm. They are braided brake lines and they've got a coating on them. They're pretty nice. So they should work out pretty good. And then we also picked up the Mopar wiring harness so we can get that locker working. We got that. And then as far as brakes go, we went ahead and got some more power stops. We have the Z36 kit in the front, so we went ahead and got the drilled slotted for the rear as well. And then their brake pads, their heavy duty brake pads for that as well. And then another thing we needed was new backing plates for the e-brake. The Rubicon does come with a bigger set bearing there, so we did go ahead and order these up. Got a couple of those. So that's pretty much going to do it for everything we needed for that. We did also need to pick up some axle shafts, so we decided to upgrade at the same time. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we got. Okay, so we ended up getting some chromoly axle shafts. We ended up getting them from Spicer themselves. They do make all the OEM stuff, so figured we'd go with those. They do come in at a pretty nice price point, and they're also pre-assembled, which is really cool. If you go ahead and take a look here, it's got all the bearings pressed on. They've got the factory tone rings for your ABS sensors. It comes with wheel studs, and they're pretty much ready to go. So these are pretty cool. The price isn't bad on these either. I picked these up from Northridge. I'll put links for everything I got down below in case you guys are doing a similar swap. So that should cover everything we need for this axle to get it underneath the Jeep. One other thing I did need, I mentioned it in a prior video, is we do have a 1350 Adams rear drive shaft. So we are going to have to swap over the flange. That's pretty easy, guys, so we'll do that once we pull the rear axle out towards the end of this video. All right, guys, let's go ahead and start throwing this together so it's all ready to roll under the Jeep. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and throw together one side real quick just in case you guys are doing the same install and you got to put in shafts and do the brakes and everything. I'll just show you how to do one side real quick. It'll be pretty easy, and then we'll go ahead and swap the axle tomorrow. All right, let's go ahead and throw these on. We do need to go ahead, grab our nuts. I went ahead and picked up some nuts from a local hardware store. These are the locking type. So we're going to go ahead and put these on with that. And then we're going to need our backing plate, and we'll throw our caliper bracket on, and we can get our caliper, and we'll go ahead and put the power stop stuff on just to show you how that all goes together. So let's go ahead and throw this on our axle shaft and get that in the axle here. So you guys might have noticed there are two different heights for the axle shafts here. The longer one's going to be the passenger side for you, so make sure you grab that one. We're going to go ahead and get our e-brake backing plate on here. And that pops right on like that, and we can go ahead and put it in the axle here. And then one thing to note when you're lining this all up, you want to make sure you get your bolts in the correct orientation. They are closer together one way, so you do want to make sure that's correct. All right, so you do want to make sure you go ahead and slide that e-brake backing plate over here, and you do want to make sure you got your bolts all in there lined up correctly. One thing to note, there is a little cutout here in the dust shield. That's going to be facing towards the rear of the vehicle on both sides there. That way you don't end up putting this plate on backwards. It does have the e-brake connector here in the front, so you want that towards the front of the vehicle there for you. All right, now that we have that axle shaft in, we're gonna go ahead and torque those nuts down to 59 foot-pounds. That should suck everything in, and then we can go ahead and get that brake caliper on. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll snug those down. I'm gonna do crisscross pattern, that way it sucks that seal in nice and even on the end of the bearing there. And we're gonna go ahead and get this tight, and then when we're all set, we'll torque it down to 59 foot-pounds. Okay, now that those are all torqued, let's go ahead and we'll throw on our brakes. All right, so now for the brakes. We've got the power stop stuff we're gonna put on. We also have the Mopar stuff we're gonna put on. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put on the bracket here, but first I'm gonna put some of the clips that come with the power stop brake pads in here. I'm also gonna use some brake grease. This stuff will keep your brakes from making a bunch of noise. A lot of aftermarket pads will come with that, but it comes with a little tiny tube. I like to have the big thing of it. So we're gonna go ahead, we'll get those in. We can get our shoes all ready to go in. We'll attach our actual caliper. Then we're gonna go ahead and we'll put on our new slotted and drilled disc. We're gonna clean that with some brake clean to get off any oils that it might have on it. And then we can go ahead and throw on our caliper. Then that passenger side's gonna be all set. We'll do the driver's side off camera. It's gonna be exactly the same for you guys. So we'll get that all set up, and then it'll be ready to slide underneath the Jeep once we swap that pinion. And one thing to note, there is a different part number for the passenger side. They do look almost exactly the same, the two different brackets, but they do have different numbers on them. So I'm assuming they want you to do that to the specific side. And then when you're getting your caliper here, you wanna make sure the little bleeder is gonna be up towards the sky. That helps you bleed it. If it's down low, you can never get the bubbles out. So let's go ahead and we'll get this all together. I'm gonna brake clean this, and then we can assemble it, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, we got those guys greased up pretty good. We got them in there. We are going to go ahead and put some grease on the back here on both sides where it's going to contact the caliper, and then we should be able to slide these on. Let's go ahead and get our rotor cleaned up here, and we're going to go ahead and throw it on the Jeep. All right, here's going to be that new drilled and slotted rotor from PowerStop. These are pretty nice. They even labeled which side's which is great. And then you can see here on the inside where that drum from the e-brake's going to ride. So these are pretty nice. I do have them on the front of my Jeep. I've had them on there for a couple years now, and they've been great. So I'm looking forward to getting these on the rear. The calipers are also bigger than the ones I have currently on the Jeep, so we should get some extra braking force from those as well. So let's go ahead and get these guys brake cleaned. We'll throw them on the axle, and then we can get our caliper on there. Okay, we went ahead and got our rotors all cleaned up. Let's go ahead and we'll throw them on the Jeep here. Just like on the factory, these do have the little holes, so you can use that little screw to retain these. I didn't pick up any extra ones. I'll swap them over from the other axle. But if you look, the Spicer shaft also has the tapped hole for that as well. So you just want to make sure you line that up. That way you can go ahead and put that bolt back in. That'll just keep your rotor on from chattering. So another thing to note, guys, this is where you're going to be able to adjust your e-brake shoes right here. There is a little slot on the backside with a little rubber plug. You just pull it out, and then you turn this guy to loosen or tighten these up against the inside of the rotor here. So let's go ahead and pop this guy on, then we can get our caliper on. All right, just took a little persuasion to get it over the shoes there for the e-brake. It's nice and snug, so hopefully we don't have to do too much adjusting. So now we can go ahead and put on our caliper adapter bracket, which bolts in on this back side here. We've got a couple new bolts for that, and then we'll be all done on this side. We can go ahead, we'll do the other side off camera, and then we'll be ready to pull out the old axle. So now that we got the rotor on, we're gonna go ahead and put our caliper bracket on that's got our new brake pads. We do have new bolts for these. These are gonna be at 18 millimeter, and these are gonna be torqued to 74 foot-pounds. And then if you wanna take a look, that little plug I was talking about earlier is right here, and that's for adjusting your e-brake shoes. So you just pull that plug out, you can get a screwdriver in there and you can turn that wheel, and that'll adjust the tension on those shoes. So this is where we're gonna go ahead and bolt our adapter plate into. This is part of the e-brake backing plate. So let's go ahead and we'll slide that on. We'll get these guys fitted up. Another quick note, If you live anywhere where there's rust or a lot of liquid on the roads, we're in the Northwest, you want to put some anti-seize on these, just in case you ever want to do a brake job in the future. All right, now that we got this all snugged up, this is kind of what it looks like. We're going to go ahead and get the torque wrench out. We're going to torque those to 74, and then we can go ahead and get our caliper squeezed on over these brake pads here. Like I said, I am going to go ahead and put some more of that brake grease on here, just on the contact surfaces, so we don't have any squeaks in the future. Another thing I like to do is go ahead and paint mark all my bolts that I've already torqued. That helps when I'm installing stuff. I know I've already torqued it just by looking at it, and then in the future when I want to check all my nuts and bolts, I can look under there real quick and see if anything's loose. So just a good habit to have. These are pretty cheap, so it's worth doing. So let's go ahead and we'll put the caliper on. So we went ahead and grabbed our caliper that's going to have the bleed nipple up towards the sky for you. You want to do that so you can get air bubbles out later. If it's down on the bottom, you'll never get it out. And then this little orange plug is blocking where your banjo bolt goes for your new brake lines. So let's go ahead and get these guys on. I did go ahead and just grab some hardware store fasteners just to keep this on for now. I am going to swap over the factory ones. The factory ones are torqued to 27 foot-pounds. So let's go ahead and we'll put this on. I'm just going to put it on fairly loose for now, just to show you guys what it looks like. And then this is another fastener that I would go ahead and put on some anti-seize, just so you can go ahead and get those off in the future. And then I'd also go ahead and paint mark these once you torque them down, when you've got it how you want it. All right guys, let's go ahead and show you what it looks like. Okay guys, we went ahead and got the passenger side all put together. Like I said, I'm going to go back and change out those caliper pin bolts to the factory ones once I pull my other axle out. I just grabbed these now so we can get it assembled. So we got our new chromoly shaft in. We got our new Z36 power stop brakes on here. We got new e-brake shoes, backing plates, and we got the new Rubicon brake setup here for us. So we're going to get some more braking power out of this, plus the pads, and then we should have some added strength with the chromolys as well. So I'm going to go ahead, throw that other side together, and then next video we're going to get that axle under the Jeep. Thanks for watching guys.